Yep.
Here, so Craig is here at the office.
Whoa.
We're in one of the conference
Live
rooms.
in person.
Yes, so he can hear. So if you want to get started, you can.
Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the June Finance Committee meeting. We have a very short agenda today, so I imagine this meeting is going to go pretty quickly. But let's get started with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First things first, the approval of the Finance Committee meeting minutes for May. Anybody like to make a motion? Actually, I guess I can make a motion.
Heidi,
For the approval.
There's one change that's needed.
Yep.
At the bottom, the May 12th meeting, say the next meeting is May 12th.
Okay.
So just make that
Yeah.
June.
Make that June 9th. Chanel, will you make that change? Yes. Great. Pete, thank you for catching that. Anything else? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes with the change, the correction of the time for the next meeting.
Second.
Great, thank you, Thaddeus. All in favor say aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, great. Any abstentions? Great. Perfect. The May minutes are approved. And we're going to move on to the briefing items. First being the financial report for May. Michelle, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Heidi. So behind tab 2, you'll see the presentation, and on the first page of the presentation, we still try to provide some good news during these times. One, it seems so long ago, but on May 14th, we made history by passing the sales tax levy. I know it does seem very long ago, but we did that. That was accomplished in May. During the third month of COVID-19 response, we continue to keep our operating expenses below budget at about $1,613,000 below budget for the month, and just over $2.3 million below budget year to date. And the first of our 29 buses are scheduled for delivery in 2020. Will start to arrive in June. So that's some of our good news that we have going on. We do have a lot of challenges during these times. We try to hit on just a few. One of the challenges, COVID-19 continues to impact the organization, and we continue to look at how the ongoing operating impact is going to be, but also how it's going to impact our Reinventing Metro plan. We're working with the county to come up with valid projections for the next 10 years and what the impact will be to Reinventing Metro. Also looking at the challenge of changing our funding source during the middle of the year. This will start in the fourth quarter, and what that change from the earnings tax to the county sales tax in the fourth quarter, what that impact is going to be to our cash flows during this transition period. So those are some of the challenges ahead of us, but we're excited to take on those challenges. Looking at the monthly financial report for the month of May, you will see the total revenue of $6.7 million was unfavorable to budget by just over $1.2 million, or 15%. Total expense of $7.8 million was favorable to budget by $613,000, or 7%. Deficit for the month before using the prior year surplus to balance was $1,040,000. Prior year surplus was $841,000, and $199,000 from the CARES Act were used to balance the operating results in May. We now have used all of the budgeted prior year reserves. We will no longer be using prior year reserves prior year surplus or reserves to balance the budget. Rather, we will be using the CARES funds. So you will see a significant increase in the use of CARES funds going forward. Total operating results before the reserves were unfavorable by $619,000 or 147% for the month, and unfavorable by $1,679,000 or 80% year to date. Some of the most significant factors driving the results of May: the fair revenue was unfavorable budget by $701,000 or 52%. Metro fair revenue was unfavorable to budget by $637,000 as a result of a 55.5% fixed route ridership decline, directly related to COVID-19. Non-transportation revenue was unfavorable to budget by $102,000 or 60%, primarily due to investment income being unfavorable to budget by $33,000 and advertising income unfavorable to budget by $55,000. CPS contract revenue was unfavorable to budget by $584,000 or 100% due to the school closures related to COVID-19. Federal subsidies were favorable to budget by $213,000 or 20% as a result of a prior period adjustment. Year-to-date federal subsidy revenue is flat to budget. Employee wages and benefits are favorable to budget by $154,000 or 2.4%. Favorable total wage expense of $303,000 was partially offset by unfavorable vacation and sick benefits of $254,000. Keep in mind that the emergency FMLA went into place for COVID-19 in April, so we saw a large usage of sick time for April and May. Parts and supplies were favorable to budget by $193,000 or 37%, primarily due to lower than anticipated revenue vehicle parts expense of $180,000. Any questions on the financial reports?
Yeah, with the emergency FMLA, is that available to all employees?
Yes.
Okay.
It's emergency. Yeah, it was emergency FMLA that went into place at the beginning of April and will cover any type of COVID-19 related emergency sick leaves, which also included child care for our employees. So if they had children who were not able to go to school because of the closures, the emergency FMLA also covered that benefit.
It didn't cover the child care benefit. What it covered were the salaries of any employee that had to stay home because they were taking care of a person that was at risk, or they had to stay home because their child was at home and they had to take care of their child. So it covered their pay. What the bill did is it then said that the businesses would be reimbursed through Social Security tax. But since we don't pay Social Security tax, we had to live under the law to make sure that we provided that, but we won't get reimbursed for it. The CARES, yeah.
Thank you for clarifying, Daryl. Sorry about that.
Michelle, two questions.
Sure.
The city's fiscal year is July to June, right?
Correct.
So do we expect as of July we'll get a lower earnings tax?
We will expect to see a lower earnings tax, yes, for July, August, and September. We will continue to request as much funds as available, but we will start to see a decline.
Okay, so we think 20-25%, something like that. So that's 800 to $1 million. And then if we return to full service, do we have an idea what that additional cost is?
I don't have that in front of me, but I can get that for you and have it prepared for the committee meeting next week.
So, because I think
That's board meeting.
we're heading toward a number like $3 million or more a month deficit if things stay the same. It will then get worse in the fall as schools go back, and depending on how that whole situation comes. So, this month's numbers are not great, but they're heading towards worse.
Correct.
Michelle, quick question. You might have answered this. Is there any chance we can use the CARES Act money to replenish our carryover? Because I would think our carryover we have more flexibility with in the future, whereas the CARES Act it's use it or lose it by December.
The CARES Act is not use it or lose it by December. There is no end date on the CARES Act. So we will continue to draw it down into 2021. But we are looking at replenishing the reserves that we used this year and then also the surplus from last year. We are reviewing that and making sure we do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But the CARES Act is a finite amount, right? We know that we're getting about 33 million, so once we use it, there's no more coming, correct?
That's correct. Once it's used, it's completely gone. If there's no other questions, the next slide kind of goes over the COVID-19 impact. So this is not just expenses. This is looking at the total impact for the first 3-month period, which is about $2 million from March to May that we've been able to quantify thus far. So this includes all of the expenses related to face mask sanitation, also the new FMLA policy, protective shields for the operators, but then also what we lost in revenue, our regular fare revenue, CPS revenue, contract revenue, and city earnings tax revenue. Just for the first 3 months, it's impacted us at $2 million approximately. And on the next slide, you'll see after last month's Finance Committee meeting and board meeting, we discussed hedging update at that time, and we were out of policy. The 0 to 24 months was hedged at 110% because we have decreased our fuel usage. So working with our financial advisor, he was able to get us down to 94%. So we're closer to our 0 to 24 month policy range, and 25 to 36 months, we're at 39% hedged today. So we're going to continue to put on the longer dated contracts as opportunities arise in that 2 to 3 year period, and while reducing our exposure in the 0 to 2 year period.
That's based on what service level?
That's based off of our current service level.
Okay, so if we assume we come back to full service by end of the month, it will change, sort of correct itself.
Yes.
Correct. But we're still looking for opportunities in that 2 to 3 year period with the oil market and diesel market being so low over the past several months that we've been trying to take opportunities there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the maintenance department is working really hard on getting the rest of the shields installed. We'll be back to regular service by the end of the month.
That's like keeping with the fact that the state is back open. Right?
Yes.
Any other questions on the financial results for the month of May?
Have you had any conversations with the organizations that we have revenue contracts with about whether or not they will be going bringing employees back into the office, just to have a sense if we will see those revenue contracts realized or not?
The revenue contracts that we have, I will tell you that the ones involving ridership, there are a lot of the businesses downtown, and one of the things we've been doing during this period is calling the businesses, asking them when they think they're coming back. A lot of the businesses don't expect to come back until the end of the year, and there are several of the businesses downtown that said they will have work from home should people choose for the foreseeable future. The only revenue contract that we've had extensive conversations with about how to manage is University of Cincinnati, as they're not sure at the end of this year for the fall semester should people be coming back to school at University of Cincinnati. Also the same with the CPS contract, which is one of our larger contracts. They're determining what they're going to do in the fall as well. So those conversations are continuing.
Great. Can you just keep us posted on those as you know more?
Yes, we will.
Can I just ask a question? Is there thinking about us downsizing for that period?
If CPS does not go back in service in the fall, we would not run the extra service that we run during the CPS time period. But we're not anticipating any other reduction in service because CPS does not go back, if they do not go back.
Any other questions around the financials for May? Okay. Moving on to our sole action item for today, which is the investment funds report for June.
Thank you, Heidi. Behind tab 3, you will find the investment of funds report for the month ending May 31st, 2020. As of May 31st, our balance is $18,127,256 with a yield of 0.56% and average days to maturity of 6 days. We used cash of $641,872 during the month of May, and our monthly investment income was $13,594, and our year-to-date investment income is $119,498. You'll notice that we continue to wind down our investments and increasing our balance in our Star Ohio account. Star Ohio is earning 0.65%, as you'll see, which is a better opportunity than the short-term investments out there right now. So we'll continue to use the Star Ohio, which is a daily liquidity going forward. For the time being, I should say. Any questions on the investment of funds report?
I'm going to take that as a no. And I'd like to make a motion to approve the investment funds report for June.
Second.
Great. The motion has been seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say right. Are there any questions? Okay. That has passed. As far as much as I'm aware, there are no other items on the agenda, but opening it up in case anybody has an additional item. Okay. With that said, I'd like to adjourn the Finance Committee meeting, and we will be back July 14th at 8:30. Thanks, everybody.